Good morning, everyone. Welcome to episode 3 of Dealing with Conversations or Dealing with Issues with ChildLine. I'm Aaron George. I'm an outreach officer with ChildLine, and I'll be hosting the conversation for this morning. And today's topic is going to be on personal safety and hygiene. But before we go into personal safety and hygiene, considering the times that we are in now, and by the times I mean we experiencing a global pandemic. We're going to talk a little bit about coronavirus first, what it is, how does the virus spread, and how does the entire situation that we have currently on a global level, what does that mean for hygiene? Yeah. So to kickstart everything, let's talk. What is a coronavirus? What is coronavirus? Who is coronavirus? Coronaviruses, they are a large family of viruses that could cause respiratory illness in humans, and it will range from the common cold to more severe conditions, things like severe acute respiratory syndrome or SARS, or the Middle Eastern Respiratory Syndrome, which was MERS. But the novel coronavirus, it is actually it is previously unidentified strain of the coronavirus, and the novel coronavirus this outbreak involves like the SARS-CoV-2 according to the World Health Organization. But just to complicate it, the name has been shortened to COVID-19. Because the virus was first identified in 2019. So how does the virus spread? Essentially it spreads from person to person, usually through close contact with an infected person or through respiratory droplets that are dispersed into the air when an infected person probably coughs or when they sneeze. It may be possible to get the virus by touching infected persons or surfaces or objects that have been contaminated with the virus, and then touching your mouth, touching your nose, touching your eyes. But there are ways that we can actually prevent the spread of the virus, and there are things that each and every human needs to do so that we could overcome this entire pandemic. So what are the symptoms that you're going to be experiencing if ever if you are tested positive for coronavirus? It could start off, the symptoms vary, so you can either it may include fever, coughing, shortness of breath. Some persons experience nasal congestion, runny nose, sore throat, diarrhea, and the symptoms could start presenting anywhere between 2 and 14 days or once you've been exposed to the virus. It may be possible for an infected person who is not yet showing any symptoms to spread the virus as well. There are persons who are at greater risk for contracting the virus, for example, older persons or individuals with pre-existing medical conditions, things like heart disease, diabetes, but the main focus with coronavirus is that it's going to attack your respiratory system. Oh, it's hot today. So how are we going to protect ourselves from coronavirus? Essentially, if we don't want to face these challenges, the best preventative action is to avoid being exposed to the virus. And the only way to avoid being exposed to the virus would we want to practice proper hygiene, social distancing, and doing your very best to avoid situations, scenarios, or persons, objects, anything that could put you at risk for contracting it. Because touching your face, touching your eyes, touching your nose, touching your mouth, it is a very common practice. It's something that people do on a daily basis, voluntarily and involuntarily. So being mindful of what you need to do as an individual is your first step in personal safety as it relates to the coronavirus. And actually, the first step in as it relates to basic safety on the whole is being informed. You must know what you're dealing with, what you're trying to protect yourself from, in order to know how to protect yourselves from it. Yeah, so staying informed, knowing what the risks are, knowing how things can spread, knowing what the consequences of your actions can be, that's a really, really important place to start. So personal hygiene. what essentially is personal hygiene. And since the pandemic, we would have been hearing a lot of talks about personal hygienes, and how you carry about yourself, continuously washing your hands, grocery stores, supermarkets, they all implemented mechanisms where persons have to be sanitized before they enter the premises, all in an attempt to reduce the spread of the virus. But on a greater level, and persons have made jokes about it, that it took coronavirus to get people to start washing their hands. It is something that we take for granted very often, that germs exist. And sometimes it may be even difficult to explain the whole germ situation to children. And there was this really nice experiment, or yeah, a little home experiment that I saw, that I thought would be really useful to actually show in this video, just so that even the adults who are around that believe sometimes, hey, germs not a big deal, I'm bigger than the germ, I can't see the germ, I'm still going to be able to fight this and overcome it, my immune system is working well. While all of those things may be true, it still shouldn't be at the risk or at the cost of personal safety and personal hygiene. Yeah, so I'm going to show you the little experiment, and it involves very basic materials at home. All you need is water, some black pepper, and some soap. And it's a really useful way to actually help children as well understand how germs can affect them, and the importance of washing their hands not just with water, like rinsing it out, but also using soap. Yeah, so let me show you the little setup. Good. So here I have my little glass, my little plate with some water. I have some black pepper and I have some soap. It doesn't matter what kind of soap you have. And what we're going to do is we're just going to add some of the black pepper to the water. This will, and the black pepper would be the germs that we have, right? So there's germs. Let's add some more germs. Okay, great. So what you can do is tell a child, okay, so pretend you want to wash your hand because it's in some water, and you take your finger and you put it into the solution. When you do so, you'll notice that there's black pepper that'll show up on your finger. It doesn't become as clean. However, when you use some soap, so if I was to use this finger now, and I just take a little squeeze of soap, and I pass it on my finger, when I put it into the water, it moves. And there isn't as much germs, quote unquote, there. So it's a really good way, and the fact that the black pepper moves away from the point at which you put your finger really gives a good visual representation as to how it shows you that, wow, wait a minute, soap is extremely important, yeah? And it just reinforces the whole notion that germs actually exist, and that there is a good and a bad way, or better or worse way to actually keep yourselves clean. So we're going to jump into some ways that you could protect yourself. What is personal hygiene? What is personal safety? And of course, if you have any questions, if you're listening, or if you have any tips that you can offer, please feel free to share it in the comments in the live video that's happening right now, or you can always post your comments later on if you see it at a later date. So now we're going to go into one-time personal safety. What is essentially personal safety, and why is personal safety important? So personal safety. Personal safety is, or personal hygiene. Personal safety. Personal safety would be steps that a person takes so that they reduce the likelihood of themselves being injured or being infected or being hurt in any form or fashion. Personal hygiene may be described as a code of maintaining cleanliness and grooming of the external body. Yeah. And personal hygiene and safety, they both sometimes go hand in hand with each other, because engaging in hygienic acts can be a form of personal safety. So you want to always be mindful that things like washing your hands, taking a shower, changing your clothes, and having clean clothes to wear, we take those things for granted sometimes. But until we're not able to access these luxuries in life, then we realize, oh, wait a minute, how important this might actually be. So, with respect to personal safety, like I said, and I'll mention it one more time, one of the most important things when it comes to personal safety is that you are informed as to what is actually taking place. Once you are informed about how you can protect yourself, then you will actually know what steps you need to take to be safe. Yeah? Personal hygiene and talking to your children. Yes, it's very hot today. Personal hygiene and talking to your children. So sometimes your children may not necessarily understand why they have to engage in the behaviors that parents or adults require them to engage in, for example, bathing, ironing, washing, and so on. It's because, one, they don't always recognize or acknowledge the dangers that are associated with not doing these things like rashes or possibly getting infections that they will have to go to the doctor to seek medical treatment for. Yeah, so taking a proactive approach to study, sorry, and I'm thinking about studying from yesterday. Taking a proactive approach to hygiene and to personal health is a really recommended idea, and there are some things that you want to list out with your children when you're talking about personal hygiene. First things first, changing their clothes. Before puberty, your children might have gotten away with wearing the same shirt or wearing the same underwear, wearing the same socks, day after day without anyone noticing. However, after puberty, that isn't going to necessarily fly. You have to get your children to understand that showering and wearing clean clothes each day is an important part of teen hygiene. Point out to them that cotton clothes may absorb sweat better than other types of materials so that it may not show up and so on. And we also live in a very hot climate. That being considered, we always want to probably have something around or wear materials that will be more absorbent to sweat if you are a sweaty person like me in some cases. Yeah. What else we want to talk about? Teen hygiene. You also want to talk about maintaining good oral health. Teenagers, they get pretty lax about their oral hygiene, but brushing and flushing, they're flossing flushing as well, but brushing and flossing are very crucial, especially if you've been drinking coffee or you've had a lot of acidic drinks, or you're drinking sports drinks, things like Monster or Red Bull or Lucozade. Any of those types of materials, they or products, they can cause tooth decay. And the thing is, tooth decay is not the only thing that you're worried about. You also want to be concerned about bad breath. And that's something that no teenager wants to experience, or no adult or person, as a matter of fact. You also want to understand your body. When you're talking about hygiene, it also means that you have to talk about hygiene for males and hygiene for females. There are some awkward parts of development for children when they're going through those crucial years, for example, breast development or menstruation for the females, where mothers would have to have conversations with them, because too often adults assume that children, when they grow up, they learn how to take care of themselves innately, naturally. But that's not the case. You actually have to teach them how to do it. You have to show them how to bathe. And though there's no right or wrong way to bathe, there would be a way that might be considered more effective and ways that are considered less effective. To keep it simple, if you're bathing without soap, that would be a less effective way to bathe. But if you're bathing with soap and so on, that's more effective in terms of getting rid of the germs and the bacteria that you'll be exposed to during the day. So baths. Bathing is absolutely important. Some people only do it when they have to go out or when they think people may be coming over. But baths are important for several reasons. One, it helps cleanse the skin. It removes perspiration, bacteria, and it could actually minimize skin irritation and reduce the chances of infection because you are bathing and keeping your skin very clean and very fresh. When you bathe, you also stimulate a lot of circulation of the blood. The simple movements of rubbing your arms or soaping your body, soaping your face and stuff. It's almost like a massage that you're giving to yourself. So it helps the movement of blood from the distal and the proximal parts of our body. When you bathe as well, it also improves your self-image because when you feel refreshed, you feel a lot more relaxed when you take a shower. Some persons, as soon as they wake up, they must take a bath before they do anything else, and as soon as they complete an activity that could have been very exhausting physically or even mentally, they may want to take a shower as well. Maybe me, after I do this video, I might want to take a shower as well, because you feel very refreshed after doing those things. It will also help with the reduction of body odors, especially in private areas, and it promotes a range of motion actually. For persons who might be older, when you think about bathing, for young persons, bathing is something that you quote unquote must do. As you get a little older, what happens is, because your ability to move around becomes limited, what you find is that older people spend a lot more time bathing, and they enjoy it because that's one of the times of the day where they get to actually engage in some level of physical activity. It requires them to bend down, touch their toes, they have to lift up their arms and reach different places, so they feel as if they're getting a stretch in the process. So it helps stimulate some amount of movement in older persons. Yeah, so bathing, extremely important. And when you bathe, also keep in mind that shampooing your hair and conditioning your hair, pretty good ideas. You don't want to necessarily do it every day. If you do have let's say products in your hair, moisturizers or gels or whatever the case may be, washing it every other day might be a good option. But keep in mind that the shampoo is for your scalp, for your skull, and the conditioner itself is for your hair. So when you're shampooing your hair, you want to make sure you get right down to the scalp. Shampoo, 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 really shampoo, shampoo, shampoo. Yeah? And when you're conditioning, you really want to get the hair, make sure the hair gets all the nutrients. And I don't know, what I do when I'm bathing, I would, not that, yeah, what I do when I'm bathing, I would, if I'm shampooing my hair, or my head, I would shampoo first, and when I rinsed out, then I would put on conditioner, leave it in my hair, and then soak my skin. So that way I feel like if it's almost like my hair getting marinated in the conditioner. And then I do the rinse, and then I leave. So it's up to you how you choose to take your shower. If you want to just, depends on how much time you have available. You don't want to waste water as well, but bathing can be a very relaxing thing, possibly doing it twice a day, 3 times a day, depending on the activities you're engaging in would be necessary. But at the very least, 2 baths for the day, 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening, that should be sufficient. So one of the next major parts about hygiene would be your teeth. Healthy teeth and gums is very, very important. So cavities, they're actually holes in your teeth that might form, and depending on the things that you're consuming and how often you wash your mouth or scrub your teeth, you can experience bad breath, and you may be at higher risk for getting some sort of gum disease or mouth infection if you avoid doing those things. It's recommended, depending on the sensitivity of your teeth and your gums, that you use a soft bristle brush, one that could fit your mouth, and get a new toothbrush at least every 3 to 4 months, please. The reason being, even though yes, the toothbrush may seem very wholesome, there's little bacteria and little germs that get stuck up on the inside that lives there. So it is important for you to actually throw it away. The bristles could wear and tear, so it's less effective in getting your mouth clean the way that you want it to. So please, it's important to make sure you change your toothbrush. If you know you've used the toothbrush that you had since January, you need to go on over to the little shop or to Pennywise and grab a new toothbrush. And you want to try practicing using fluoride toothpaste. So how often and when should you brush your teeth? You'd want to do so at least 2 times a day. One time in the morning and one time at night. Consider brushing your teeth between meals as well. And flossing is very important. The reason being, when you brush your teeth, sometimes small pieces of meat, fruit, snacks, whatever you've had, and if your teeth are very close together, they get stuck in the middle, and the toothbrush more or less rubs the surface of the teeth, but it doesn't actually get to pull out the gunk that we have in the middle of our teeth. So we need to try and include flossing as part of our oral hygiene practices every single day. Every single day. That's important. Yeah. But please be mindful that when you are flossing, you don't want to floss too hard to damage your gums. And you also want to, if the string that you have, you just keep turning it around your finger, depending on what you're using, and use a clean part at each point. Yeah. So some myths that we just want to deal with as it relates to bad breath. Some people believe, hey, I don't need to brush my teeth. I could just use mouthwash and the bad breath will go away. No. Mouthwash only gets rid of bad breath temporarily because of the bacteria or the type of bacteria that builds up on your tongue. It will stay there. And when you use the mouthwash, it only kills just a percentage of the germs in your mouth. But then eventually the germs that remain, because it's a build-up, because things happen in your mouth, the bacteria, they're growing and they're multiplying. It happens in your mouth, especially overnight when you sleep. If you just use mouthwash, you're not able to actually scrub and clean it and get them off. Think about it like a dirty pot. Just passing the water on the dirty pot isn't going to get the dirty callaloo or the pie or the whatever that you had stuck up on it. It's not going to get it off. You're going to actually have to kind of scrub it, and this is why the brushing and the mouthwash can go hand in hand. Some people say as long as you brush your teeth, you shouldn't have bad breath. That is a lie as well. To sufficiently clean all surfaces of your teeth, persons should brush for at least 2 minutes and at least twice a day. Brushing your tongue is also important, and not just the part of your teeth where people see you smile, but you also want to try and brush the back of it or the inner part of your mouth. Also want to get all between the gums, all up there, all down here in the back. You just want to get everywhere. Not brushing too vigorously, of course, because then that could cause damage to your mouth, but at the very least you want to ensure that you have some process that's happening there. Some people say you can brush in a circular motion. Some people say you should brush with your toothbrush up at an angle and it's hitting the corners of your gums so you get stuff. Up to you, and it also depends on the shape of your teeth and the shape of your mouth. So yeah, keep in that, but just note that just brushing, doing one or the other is not enough. You have to do both of them, and if you not able to probably do the mouthwash, I'd strongly continue doing the brushing of the teeth, making sure to scrub your tongue, scrubbing your lips as well. Some people said if you breathe into your hand, you'll know if you have bad breath as well. So after you brush your teeth, you're not going to be able to do it. When you breathe, you don't use your throat the same way as you do when you talk. The bad breath comes from all down here. All down here. So when you talk, you tend to bring out odors from the back, the way back of your mouth, which is where the actual odors will be coming from. Yes, it may be hard sometimes when you're scrubbing to get those really far areas, because you might feel like you're choking or you feel like you're gagging and you want to throw up. Comes with the territory. You know, they say beauty is pain. I guess sometimes cleanliness could cause some pain or some discomfort, but it's all for the greater good. Yeah. What else can we talk about when it comes to personal safety? Acne. Big deal for it is a big deal for teenagers, and it is created from oil or from the oil glands when they actually mix with dead cells and clog up the hair follicles in our skins to actually create a whitehead. A blackhead happens when air touches the plug and and it turns black. It's almost like what they call an apple. When you slice an apple and you just leave it open for a little while, once the air starts touching it, or a potato, it's that process of oxidization takes place. But we're not going to go into all of that. But once it touches the air, it starts changing color. Similarly with acne, that has a part to play in it. But the thing is, both boys and girls will have they will get acne at some point in their life. It is normal. It is said that boys may get acne worse than girls because they have more oily skins. But keeping in mind the products or the face washes that you use in life would also probably help determine how your skin responds. So for example, girls that might use oil-based makeup could possibly experience more acne than, of course, the girls that don't use oil-based makeup. Yeah, so but pimples, they're very normal. Females as well, menstruation could possibly be a factor related to pimples happening, but you want to avoid squeezing or popping the pimples, especially picking at it, because when you do so, you could actually scrape it or you could damage your skin, and by damaging your skin, you create a little wound, and then it takes a lot longer for your body to be able to heal it. Scrubbing your skin too hard as well could actually damage the top layer of your skin, of your face, and it could leave a lot of marks, which makes your skin a lot more sensitive. And because your skin is more sensitive, because of excessive scrubbing, you now increase the likelihood of you getting buttons or getting pimples. Yeah. We also want to talk about fingernails or toenails when we're talking about personal hygiene. It is important at least, let's say, maybe twice a week, at the very least once a week, to try and cut your nails. Why you want to cut your nails? Because there's a lot, you use your hands very often, and germs, they build up a lot under your nails. So once you clip your nails, you're actually removing a lot of the germs that are present, and it gives it less of a hiding, it gives the germs less place to hide when it comes to being able to contaminate different surfaces or your mouth and so on, or your inside your body. You want to file your fingernails in one direction. Some people, when they're filing, they're going back and forth. That actually damages your skin. You want to do it in one direction. You want to cut your toenails straight across, never cut into the corners. Why you don't want to cut into the corners? Because you want to protect yourself against ingrown toenails, and by avoiding tight shoes or very high heels, that type of thing. If you have been cutting your toenails in such a way where the corners are actually cut in, what happens is when the nail is growing, it will actually grow into your skin, and it can be quite painful to remove it. So you want to have the nail grow out, and you want to cut straight across, and you want to file in one direction. Yeah, one direction. Cutting your toenails is very important as well, because similarly to your fingernails, germs will live under your nails, and it can contribute to smelly feet. Yeah, and the buildup of dead skin can also contribute to athlete's foot or the smelly feet. So grooming your feet, washing them regularly is going to be important as an important part of hygiene. Let's say you don't have to bathe, so you got up, you already bathed, you already brushed your teeth, you wash your nails or whatever, and you just go into the grocery store, you touch something that you're not supposed to touch, and your hands got dirty. What's the proper way for us to wash our hands? And this will tie back into COVID-19. Reason being, it is one of the recommended measures to protect oneself against the spread of the virus. So you want to use possibly warm water if possible. Why? Because a lot more germs would die in warmer water as compared to cool or room temperature water. You also want to make sure you use soap. If soap is not available, alcohol-based hand sanitizers could be useful. And scrub your hands together and underneath your nails, if you have any nails, for at least 20 seconds. You want to sing happy birthday. You know, the happy birthday to you. You want to sing that maybe twice while you're washing your hands. Because you want to scrub all the germs off properly. And there are a lot of videos on ChildLine's social media sites and pages that you can check out that show you how to wash your hands properly. There's a school video that I saw as well where they used a glove and paint, and the guy, he just showed how when persons do this and you only wash your hand like this and you do so, and then you put your hand under the water, you see all the parts of your hand that actually would still be dirty, and once you touch your hand again after the fact, and you start basically recontaminate your entire arm. So please keep in mind you want to wash it for at least 20 seconds with soap and dry your hands in a clean cloth or paper towel after the fact. If there's an automatic hand dryer that's available, well then please make that your guess. So there's a couple more things we're going to talk about in terms of hygiene. Hair care. So we spoke about shampooing and we spoke about conditioning. That's one part of it, but you also want to try and moisturize your hair at some point in time and comb your hair daily, depending on your hair type, of course. If for persons like me, so I'm mixed and I have curly hair, I like to comb out my hair sometimes, especially because I use hair products in it, especially if I have to wash it, just to detangle it, make sure that the hair is getting some room to breathe, because they get all stuck together and your hair almost becomes like a dust bunny with all the different things in it. So by combing it out, you get the knots to remove, and the dirt that might be trapped in the middle will actually get released as well. And clean clothes, like I mentioned earlier, wearing clean clothes is very, very important. You don't want to look untidy or smell bad because of the sweat that is stuck on the clothes or the dead skin cells that is stuck on your clothes that you were wearing from the day before. When you were younger, or when I was younger, I know there were many times my mom, she would send me to bed, and I admit I would just put my hand under the shower and I ran back out. She sent me right back in because she said you have to be clean, and sometimes there may be a jersey or a pants that I really, really like and I just want to wear it, and there I go emptying the dirty clothes basket looking for this pants to put it on, and she would say no, I could get a rash and it could damage me, it could make me so she'll quarrel with me and tell me that I can't wear dirty clothes basically. And only in years later I was like, okay, yeah, this totally makes sense, and here I am on the other side of the table now telling you all don't wear dirty clothes. Fortunately I didn't get any rashes because of it, but your luck may not be my luck, you know. So we wanna make sure that we practice that cleanliness. And people could also tease you when you smell bad, and that could have a serious impact on your self-esteem as an individual. And if people are teasing you and you feel bad about yourself, it'll make you feel uncomfortable. And when you feel uncomfortable, as it relates to particularly personal hygiene, you may not want to interact with others. You may feel a sense of hurt or sense of discomfort. Generally that can last and may take a long time to recover. So always keep in mind that personal safety and personal hygiene is important, and safety doesn't just have to be about keeping safe from germs. It could be about keeping safe from crime, it could be about keeping safe from theft, keeping safe from being murdered, keeping safe from hurting other people's feelings. That safety is a huge umbrella, and there are many types of safety that you all could focus on. Yeah, but of course for this presentation or for this discussion, we're more so talking about personal hygiene and safety as it relates to bodily taking care of your body and COVID-19. So that's the hygiene aspect of things as it relates to safety. But even though COVID-19 is still very present in the world, there are other measures that have been put in place to protect persons aside from personal hygiene. And the hygiene measures would have been to wash your hands. The other measures that we have would be things like social distancing. What is social distancing? Social distancing is simply keeping away from people as much as humanly possible so that you can avoid the spread of infections or viruses because of the through avoiding the interaction that you have with people. Keeping in mind, when you speak, you may not be able to see the droplets that come out of your mouth or when you cough or when you sneeze, but they exist and they're very, very tiny and they fall on surfaces and they live there for a period of time. It may not be months, but they may live for a couple hours to a couple of minutes. And if it falls on, let's say, a doorknob or a car handle or a brush or something that is frequently touched, you increase the likelihood of it actually getting onto another person, and once that person touches their nose, their mouth, their eyes, it gets into their body and they become infected with the virus. Yeah. So in terms of overall safety, social distancing, like we said, understand, stay informed as to what the guidelines in your country would be. If they say stay 6 feet apart, please stay 6 feet apart. Organizations have now put marks outside of their organization that shows where persons have to line up. They limit the number of persons that they let into a store at a time, all as part of personal safety or community safety to some extent. Yeah. If we're talking basic safety as well, we want to be mindful of just being aware of your surroundings, walking as if you're assertive and you know where you're going, reminding yourself not to use your cell phone or to wear flashy jewelry during these times, because you are putting yourself at risk by doing so. Even though COVID-19 has posed a health threat to a lot of us, it has also posed an economic challenge for many, and persons have lost their job. And to be honest, because of that, there are some people out there who have made the decision, well, I lost my job and I still need to eat, so I'm going to go outside and I'm going to rob someone. And it happens. It really and truly happens. And you have to put yourself in place or do what you can do to protect yourself as far as possible when it comes to that. Because we may be thinking all we need to do to protect ourselves right now would be to wash our hands. What we need to do, we would also need to stay at home as much as possible, practice the social distancing or listening to the information or the guidance of the authorities in your relevant country, and doing just what we have to do as best as possible. So overall, I think that may be covering the aspects of personal safety and personal health that I was expected to cover. Please keep in mind that safety is far greater than what is being mentioned in this presentation, because there's so much more associated with it. For example, basic safety things you could have: changing up your routines for that you go on walks for, because when you go, let's say you're a runner or you're a jogger and you take the same route each and every day, persons may be able to mark you or identify points in your journey that might be a bit more secluded than others, and they could use that as an opportunity to attack you. You also want to be mindful of the contacts or the persons who you need to have, because they can put you at risk, or who are the persons that you need to contact if something or someone is at risk. Trust your instincts as well. If you feel uncomfortable in a situation, maybe something might be wrong, change what you're doing and get a more secure location, or try your best to avoid whatever harm you might be feeling until you start feeling a little more settled again. There's also safety at home or safety with your cars. For example, safety at home, things like knowing who your neighbors are, not keeping spare keys hidden under a door, instead leaving them with a friend that you might trust. You don't want to use any props to have your apartment open or to keep your doors ajar a little. Why? Because some people will try to get in. There are persons who leave their windows open because they say that they want the house to be cool when they come home because it's hot in the tropics. Yes, I understand that, but that leaves an avenue for persons to push rods inside of the house, probably fish your keys out of where you have it, fish your handbag, and you don't want that to happen. If you're going away, make sure that you lock all your doors and your windows, close up the curtains, and set a timer on for the lights, because when you have lights on, it's less likely that persons might want to invade your house. Keep sliding doors blocked by placing up pole or something in front of it. Why? So that way persons would know that there's a glass or something present. When moving in or out of places, you want to minimize the number of items that you're carrying, or unnecessary items. So you don't want to go to the supermarket with 2 or 3 handbags just because you didn't get to go out in the last couple of weeks and you want to use all the handbags. No, you're still gonna go out with one handbag and just keep it as normal. Car safety, when you're parking, make sure that you have your possessions in your trunk. If you're going to the grocery store, because persons, they are out there and they are looking for ways to make money, or they're hungry, they're trying to get something in their stomach, who knows what it might be. So you have to be sure. Make sure that your car has gas or electricity, as the case may be. Have your cell phones fully charged just in case you need to call for help. Call in tow trucks if you have a breakdown at any point in time. Make sure you have these types of contact on your phone. And always park in safe and well lit areas. There's also theft that's taking place online, because a lot of persons, you're not able to go out into the stores or into the community to shop. Persons are now relying on the internet, so they likelihood of you probably sharing credit card information, which should not happen at all. But some persons are now becoming a little more lax in doing so. So for example, mail. You don't want to use personal information to get and have it go into the wrong hands. So rather than putting outgoing mail in your home mailbox, make sure that you possibly contact the post office and let them know, okay, I have an important package that I need to have delivered. Is it possible for me to drop it off, instead of just leaving it up to some other method. In terms of the internet, when you're making online purchases, use a secure site and a reputable seller. There are a lot of persons, everybody's suddenly just coming up nowadays that they want to be selling this online, and they're selling that online, and they're asking you for your credit card information. Use your credit card rather than a debit card if that might be the case. Make sure that you have your antivirus software and your firewalls installed to protect your computer. And don't give out, like if you're in America or whatever, your social security number when you can avoid it. Yeah, because by doing this, persons can manipulate your online activity. There are hackers out there, so the dangers, they're quite real. Yeah, so those are all some tips that you can use as it relates to personal safety. Like I said, safety is a very huge topic. You could talk about safety at the beach, safety when driving, safety when going out, safety when at home. The list goes on. But keep in mind, personal hygiene is really, really important at this point in time, and criminal activity is also on a rise. So be aware of what types of crimes actually happening in your area, and the only way to do so, you have to stay abreast of the news. Yes, the news may seem flooded with a lot of COVID-19 information, but there are the pockets of information that will tell you things about crime rates and so on. Please don't allow that to pass you by without you knowing fully what's taking place. So that's it for today in terms of personal safety and sharing information about that. Always remember that ChildLine is there to assist with anything that you need. We have our 3 sections. We have the helpline, which is available 24/7. The 2 phone numbers to call would be 800-4321. That's 800-4321 or 131. It's free to call at any point in time. It's available 24/7. It is toll free, so you don't need to have any money on your phone, and it is confidential. So whatever you say to the person on the line, it's between you and that person. Our outreach activities have now transferred onto our social media platforms, so please check us out on Facebook, ChildLine TT or ChildLine Trinidad. We also are on Instagram and Twitter at ChildLine_TT. We also have our website where there's the live web chat feature. If you don't feel like calling and talking to someone, you could visit www.childlinett.org, and on the top right hand corner there is a little bubble that says chat with a professional. Please feel free to click it and you all can have that live chat feature there to talk, discuss absolutely anything at all. So thanks for listening, thanks for watching. I do hope you all have a wonderful day. Remember to stay safe, wash your hands, and God bless.